Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're on STV Edinburgh and STV Glasgow, Monday to Friday at 6:30. Delighted to have your company. The main headlines tonight: the race for the Motherwell hot seat is hotting up, with Mixu Patalainen the latest to express an interest in the manager's job. Charlie Mulgrew is unlikely to be fit for Scotland's forthcoming European Championship qualifiers, and will assess the performance of the last three teams to make it into the last eight of the League Cup last night. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin, and we have an opinionated guest in the boot room.
The Boot Room, sponsored by Third Dimension Framing.
Yep, delighted that former Blackburn Rovers, Norwich, Chelsea and Celtic striker Chris Sutton is alongside us, Ruffy. It's just magic to have him back with us again. We set him on his way to superstardom. It's only right that we get him back in and alongside us here for more chat.
Yeah, as he came in the early stages of our career, and yeah, I'm sure we had lots of calls that night and everything that he had said.
Yep, we did have lots of calls, but we've decided to ask him back despite the calls. Let's cut to the chase. The hot seat, Mixu Patalainen, the latest to express an interest in the Motherwell job. Stephen Craigan will have the interim manager's position. Does that put him in the box seat for you, Ruffy?
I think it always puts whoever is in the box seat, you know, if they could get 2 or 3 wins together. But every time a manager's job comes up now, we're talking about 50 candidates. It was 50 at Hamilton, so I don't think there'll be any difference here. But I wouldn't be surprised if Mr Hutchison's phoned Stuart McCall. He left in very good terms. You know, Stuart's obviously only with the Scotland team just now, and I don't know. I think he might think he's got some unfinished business. It's a long time to be out of the game at club level, so I'm only saying it's worth a phone call to see how he's feeling about it.
Okay, let's cut to the chase on this. If Stuart McCall becomes a Motherwell manager, I will fly down to Norwich, fly you back up, and take you and Ruffy out for a slap-up meal.
Yeah, no, I agree with you for once. He's not going to phone Stuart McCall again. I don't think that's going to happen. I thought Stuart McCall did a good job there. I thought, you know, he had a rough period the season when he left the club, but he's not going to go back now. I wouldn't have thought he would want to. I think he's done his business there.
Yeah. Would you pick a home-based manager, Chris, or do you think it's a good idea for them to go out with somebody who maybe doesn't know the Scottish game?
No, they have to pick somebody who knows the Scottish game. Of course they do. You know, you can't get someone in from abroad who knows nothing about the Scottish League and Scottish players. It has to be someone. So I think Stephen Craigan's in with a decent shout, but Mixu Patalainen, you know, did a decent job at Kilmarnock before, so it'll be interesting to see. I think they've sacked Barraclough too early, though. I do. I think it was 7 points out of 24. I think it's, you know, slightly harsh. Give him. I know what happened last season, and they beat Rangers in the playoffs and what have you, but it's early days yet. Too early to sack a manager. Yeah.
So Motherwell, Ruffy, you going to?
No, I was just going to say, and it's the case. You know, we spoke about it. You know, when does a manager get sacked? And 9 times out of 10, it's because of fans' reactions and directors not being strong enough, you know, to handle the situation. And it looks as if that was the case. Obviously, there's some supporters chanting some things, you know, and they made the decision. But it's unfortunate, and you know, I agree with Chris. I think he should be given longer time.
Well, that kind of brings me to the Dundee United scenario, Chris, because quite simply, you need a strong board, you need a strong chairman there who will stick by the manager, but I'm sure Jackie himself will realise just win games and that keeps everybody off your back.
Yeah, but Jackie's been a victim of, you know, selling his forward line to Celtic, so, you know, you lose your best players, you can't replace them. You know, it's been tough. But Dundee United aren't a team, to me, who are in free fall. They haven't won enough games of late. Jackie's aware of that. But there's been some games which have been very tight and, you know, could have gone either way. They're just not getting a rub of the green. They had a decent win against Dunfermline in the week, so hopefully that will be the springboard for Jackie.
Yeah. Charlie Mulgrew. Ronnie Dyler was speaking earlier today. Ruffy, Charlie Mulgrew doesn't look as if he's training enough or even ready to play for Celtic, never mind Scotland.
He'll be a miss, there's no doubt about that. I think Gordon sees him in the international scene as a player who can play numerous positions, you know, and I think ideally with the Poland game coming up, he possibly would have had a position for him to play, but if that's not going to be the case, I think we've got a strong enough pool with players in there who can replace him.
Yeah, Craig Gordon was also talking today about a player that I wanted to get your thoughts on, Chris, which is of course Carlton Cole. He's got a week to try and impress. He may well be short of match fitness. Is it a good signing if they are able to get him over the line?
To be honest, I haven't got a clue. Look, he's got a decent pedigree. He's a different type to Chifchi and Griffiths. Obviously, I think he's got that physical presence where he has the ability to score goals from crosses, but I don't really understand the week trial. You know, we all know what he can do.
Yeah.
You know, they would have seen enough footage of him. Is it to assess his fitness? I don't know, but you know, you can't really get him up and question his credentials. It must all be about fitness, thinking about it.
Yeah,
it must be.
Well, on that point, do you think the purchase of him possibly could be with Europe in mind? Because you were the co-commentator for the Ajax Celtic game. Do you think it's maybe to try and get a half-decent performance in the Europa League? Surely they're not buying him to try and make sure that Aberdeen are not pressing them.
The biggest surprise for me is Celtic don't have enough strikers. That was it, that they didn't add in the striking department. It was, you know, ridiculous that they didn't. With just Chifchi and Griffiths, I mean, they've got the option of playing Stokes there as well. So Celtic have to, you know, had to act and get the centre forward in. Maybe he will be the one, but you know, I would have thought that they would like him available for European competition, of course.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that if they're going to concentrate on having a good run in Europe, you would need a quality striker. I think Griffiths and Cichy haven't really proved themselves in the European scene. So
it's a bit harsh on Griffiths.
Yeah.
I think Griffiths is, you know, we know he is a goal scorer. Chifchi's got it all to do, but I think Chifchi hasn't had a run of games, essentially. But it'll be interesting to see what level Carlton Cole is at, because he does have a good pedigree, but, you know, I think there was talk of him going to the States as well, so he might have a few options, but that'd be a good opportunity for him, I would have thought. He's only 31.
Yeah, you've watched Celtic in European football. What do you make of their chances in this particular group?
No, still tough. I thought the result, Ruffy thinks 2-2 before the game, Celtic getting a draw after getting knocked out in poor circumstances in Malmo, losing to Aberdeen. Okay, I think they sandwiched St Johnstone and beat them in between that. I thought it was a decent result. Having said that, the Izagiri incident killed them, didn't it? They were 2-1 up, and actually for me they looked more of a threat on the counter-attack in the second half. So decent point, but the other result has thrown the group wide open. It's actually a great game, the Celtic-Fenerbahce game. You know, if Celtic beat Fenerbahce, that will put a massive dent in, you know, with the Turkish team and their chances of going through. But Molde, look, I mean, still for me they're the weaker side in the group. Fenerbahce battered them possession-wise, chances-wise, but Molde went up the other end and scored 3 goals. So, look, I mean, it's wide open.
Yeah, well, we usually only get to speak to you every 4 months, in between every lucrative contract you sign elsewhere. So, give us your 1-2 in that group then.
You can't ask me that at this early stage.
We can, because 4 months from now we'll be like that. I can't believe Sutton said that.
Oh, well, let's give us a bit of time. 1-2 in the group. It all depends. I think the next game is critical for Celtic. If Celtic beat Fenerbahce, they will qualify.
Okay. Listen, before we get to the break, I had a chat with you in the car before you got here. Give me the world-class players that you've played with. Because Fergie's been out, he's named 4. Only 4.
Yeah, but Fergie, actually, it's hard to disagree with a lot of what he said, but how can you leave Roy Keane out of that? Ridiculous.
Yeah. What about world-class players that you've played with?
Well, whoever I say, you'll attack.
Well, that's the nature of this game. 6 months from now, you'll be making a living out of that attacking other presenters. So, give me the 6. He named 6 in the car. What were the
I'll say Larson.
Yep.
Shearer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you having
I agree with them. The 2 good ones.
Zola.
Assuring.
Yeah.
No argument.
Yeah. Desai.
World Cup winner. Happy with that.
How many is that? 4. George Weir.
George Weir. Yeah, okay, I think we'll give you that one. That's 5.
Well, what do you mean you think you'll give me that?
There was a kid who did a good couple of years in Milan, scored a wonder goal.
World Player of the Year twice.
Okay,
Doesn't
right.
qualify.
World class, we'll give you.
No, okay.
So that's 5.
So that's 5.
And
who was the other one?
who was the other one? It will come to me. It will come to me. I'm trying to... It's definitely somebody that you've played with at Chelsea.
What about Moravchik? Would you chuck him in there?
There's a great one for the break, isn't it? Would you chuck Moravchik into world class? At Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. The great thing about this, you should have seen Ruffy's face when Chris Sutton had a go at them there. He's not used to that sort of thing in the programme. It's in his contract. Nobody fights with Ruffy on the programme. We are going for a scrap in the break. You can join us after it and see if Sutton's still sitting in that chair.
Hi, I'm Chris Sutton. To win this beautiful signed shirt from me, which club did Celtic sign me from?
Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's football show. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin, and we've got a top drawer boot room guest tonight.
The Boot Room, sponsored by Third Dimension Framing.
I don't care who you are, don't do that again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry,
Not having that.
Sorry.
Not having that in our show.
Can't believe you had a go at you, and amazingly, you know, we accepted maybe Moravchik as well. You might disagree with us, but we're not having Royal Fox or Jeremy Goss. They're definitely not. They're not in the lineup. And Ruffy, you're not having Brian Gunn as a goalie.
No,
either.
not at all. Good guy. Good, definitely
Great
good guy.
lad.
But
Doesn't rate him though.
No, hey, listen,
not in the top 6.
No, there's very few goalies. There was another one that you mentioned, Chris, but for the life of me, I can't remember.
Deschamps? Deschamps?
Didier Deschamps. Ruffy, you having Deschamps? You know, Cantona described him as a water carrier. Was he world class?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
I think he had something to prove to the French contingent, and I think he did it, didn't he, at the highest level?
Well, if you pick up the World Cup, you'd say you're world class. Would you give him that?
I wouldn't say that if you pick up the World Cup that you're world class. Let's not forget Stefan Givarch. So calm your jets.
He wasn't captain.
It's all about knowledge.
No, he wasn't captain.
No, absolutely not. That's
So you
true.
agree with me then?
But it helps if you've been to a World Cup.
Yeah.
Oh,
I cannot believe you've delivered that. Ruffy, you'll not come back to that line. It's fantastic. Anyway, which reminds me of McAvenny's line to George Best, but that's another programme. Anyway, apart from anything else, let's cut to the chase with those 3 teams that are through into the League Cup. So, Ruffy, I don't think we called it completely right. You got it right with Hibs against Aberdeen.
Yeah, well, I think it was just a matter of time. You know, you couldn't go through the whole season without losing a game. And Hibs have improved. I think the players that he's brought in, the McGinns, McGeochs, are all beginning to gel. You know, and on the night, I mean, I think if you looked at the game, it should have went to penalties and extra time, but Hibs got the goal at the right time, and then obviously Aberdeen tried to get the equaliser and they get caught in the counter.
Yeah, I think everybody has been waxing lyrical, Chris, about the qualities of Aberdeen, but sooner or later you're always going to get a slip up. Rangers got it against St Johnstone. Derek McInnes' side now have to lick their wounds and try and bounce back.
Yeah, I think that'll be a big disappointment going out of the League Cup. I mean, would he have taken that? Losing a league game and going through, I'm not so sure. I still think Aberdeen, they might not say it publicly, but they'll fancy the league this season.
Yeah, I mean, the manager has mentioned prior to the game, he said, you know, we want to win a cup competition because it might be our best chance of silverware. That was just a little, you know, hint. You know, it might not be as clear cut in his mind that he's got a strong enough squad to match Celtic all the way through.
Normally managers do, you know, they enter a competition, they, you know, do say that they would like to win a cup, so I don't think much has changed there.
Yeah, as far as the other ties concerned, Ruffy, I mean, if you're ever going to score a goal, I mean, your sidekick here knew when to score a goal late on, and boy, did Hearts leave it late to the 90th minute and beyond.
Yeah, I think Gary Locke will be absolutely gutted, you know, to be 2-1 up. You know, you would expect with the experience he's got in his team to see that game out, but Hearts got the break of the ball in the box, you know, and the boys stuck it away, and then they had everything up, tails up, you know, and they went for the winner.
Yep, 3-2 in the end. So we've got a last 8. It's Celtic, Hibs, Hearts, St Johnstone, Dundee United, Inverness, Cally Thistle, Morton and Ross County as well. That's the 8 in Monday afternoon's draw for the quarterfinals of the League Cup. Just on that point, one team that fell foul of St Johnstone was Rangers. Chris, I think everybody is waiting for next season when eventually the general consensus is Rangers will be back in the division. Do you think that will be the line in the sand where suddenly we can reignite, greater interest in Scottish football?
Yeah, I think so. I think the league is better for Rangers. I think it was a shock to a lot of people, St Johnstone going there and winning as comfortably as they did. But, maybe a shock for the Rangers players as well. They may have been getting, I'm not saying they're getting carried away, but they've won the games in the Championship so easily this season. And I think for Mark Warburton, I think that he will be thinking that if they do go up, he's talked about making additions. I think he said he'd need 6 or something along those lines. He may need more. This Rangers team isn't ready to compete in the top flight this season, but I think they'll get there.
Yeah. When you say that they're not ready to compete, are you talking about just competing for the top 6 places? Because, looking at them, you've got at times the owner sometimes has made a statement saying they'll need 5 or 6 players and they want to compete with Celtic. That, in my view, might take a wee bit more than 6 players. Yeah,
I think so. I think Rangers have had it all their own way, and to their credit, they've won games comfortably, but they're up a notch playing St Johnstone, a seasoned team. Tommy Wright as manager had them well set out. O'Halloran had the pace on the 2 centre halves, and that's what Rangers will contend with. They probably haven't been put under that sort of pressure in the Championship. I don't know what Ruffy thinks with that. So inevitably you go up a level. Rangers, as good as they've been this season, admitting themselves they need to recruit.
Yeah. What have you made of your old teammate Alan Stubbs in Hibs? Have you had a chance to chat to him?
I think to the nature of the league that Rangers will players believe they've recruited well. Ruffy mentioned if you are like Liam Henderson, the boy.
I expect Hibs to get stronger. I mean, you seem convinced that they were going to be able to put one over on the Dons.
Yeah, I did, but I have to agree with Chris. I think Rangers have got too much firepower. The lacking for Alan has been, when games are so will. But there are times when he has a barren spell, and I think that's what might outdo them in the end. But certainly, I love the players he's brought in. We all thought the boy going to Celtic would have been a massive miss because of the ability that he has. But the guys have come in, particularly Liam Henderson, have been very, very good. And it's great to see a midfield like that at Hibs want to play football.
You also can't.
One-year-old midfielder, they've got him from Reading. Is that a surprise when really they need goals, they need strikers?
Yeah, it's a surprise. I mean, I don't think for a minute that Alan hasn't been trying to get a striker in. There's no doubt about that. Maybe he thinks the boy Pogba is going to come good after his injury. But they don't have firepower by anybody, but they haven't been able to get that goal when they need it.
Just get your thoughts on the Euro qualifiers. I mean, Wales have been superb. England know they're going to be playing in the European Championships. Chris, your old boss is in charge of the Republic of Ireland. Yeah. In fact, and your other old boss is in charge of Scotland.
And trying to get one in charge of England.
Yeah, absolutely. There you are.
Where did he manage me at?
Hold on a second and I will tell you right now. Was it Blackburn?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Yeah. Honestly, Ruffy, knowledge. That's what it's all about.
he didn't. He wanted to.
Are we having Vialli, Ruffy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Easily. So you've played.
The only mistake he made was signing me.
Yes, yes. It's still. Listen, you know, the first time we had you on the programme, we mentioned Chelsea. You went in a huff. You didn't phone us for a year because it was only one goal. It was a nightmare that we mentioned on the programme. Ruffy boy, he was in a stinker when he left the studio that day.
Yeah, I've never been in the studio and there's been a 5-second silence, you know, and you're waiting on some kind of reaction. But no, it was fine.
Yeah, cold stare. Can Scotland get to the playoff at least because it's still in the mix?
No.
Okay, there you are.
I think the Georgia game killed Scotland because they only needed a point. I don't think that Ireland will beat. They've got Poland and Germany,
Yeah.
and the critical game is I think Poland are a really good team.
Yeah.
You saw Lewandowski the other night, 5 goals in 9 minutes. It'll be tough for Scotland against Poland, and then if Scotland will beat Gibraltar, won't they?
Yeah.
But that won't be enough.
Yeah, well. Goose for another European. Delighted to have Chris Sutton here in the studio with us, talking football as ever. Join us tomorrow on the programme. We'll look towards the weekend football. We'll probably get an assessment of whether we're allowing Lubomir Moravcik in his world-class 11. But join us, STV.